Well, it's so weird, I think, when people use Skype and then, like, they don't show themselves. I don't know, there's just been so many incidents. Like, I mean, it's understandable if someone doesn't have a webcam, but well, it just seems like, well, by this standard, we could have just made a phone call. You know? If you just wanted to do just audio, might as well do a phone call instead of a Skype call. It seems like you're defeating the purpose.
I've done other podcasts, and yeah, they don't seem to like, I don't know, I think it's one of those things that's just kind of like, I actually have no idea what it is. It's fine to me either way, but for me personally, I prefer the camera. That way I know if I'm like, I can see if they're about to talk or if they're trying to say something, so I don't interrupt them or they don't interrupt me, you know? Mm-hmm. It seems to happen with us either way, though, just because our audio, there's like our internet connection's so shitty.
There's always a slight delay, yeah.
No, but it's like nearly every podcast I've kind of guested on, there seems to be half the time like they don't really do cameras, which is fine. Maybe it's one of those things, just like I think maybe they're afraid that someone's gonna like as soon as like the camera comes off, just someone just hey, how's it going, man? Like, you know,
I guess some people have that fear, but it's just one of those ones. It seems weird to like use Skype and not use the camera, though. You know what I mean? It's like using FaceTime on like an iPhone, but you're like, oh, I don't want to look at you though. But why don't you just make a regular phone call? No, I want to use the FaceTime, but I don't want to see a face.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you. I never used FaceTime just because it's like if I was in like in a long distance relationship or something. Like now I'm looking at some of all the shit we got now. I'm like, God, where was this shit when I was in a long distance relationship? This would have made things so much easier. But in other aspects, though, it's kind of like I'm more of just thinking, man, it's gonna kill my fucking data. No.
Yeah, there's always that. That's always.
I'm just a cheap bastard.
But yeah, well, whatever. We're pretty much FaceTiming right now, just on Skype. Just Skype time. Skype timing in.
Skype time! Like, why doesn't like Microsoft ever hire us for their advertisements? Aside from the fact we always bitch about Skype, so
that might be the first reason why.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm coming in here with really nothing. It kind of probably shows, but because my whole plan was to see Doctor Strange, so that would probably kill at least 20 minutes of the podcast, and then whatever else happened between here and there. But due to scheduling conflicts, we can't do it on Saturday. So, yep. There goes my plan.
So it's like,
just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah, we'll just talk about Doctor Strange the next time or whatever. But yeah, no, I know. Like one of the few things. Actually, I did find a cool series that I haven't seen in a long time, and it was like $10 at the store. Did you ever, when you were a kid, watch a show called Brisco County Jr?
Brisco County Jr?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the thing where they're the where they're cowboys and they're also actually cows?
No, it's not a cartoon. It's a live action show.
Oh, okay. No, is it kind of like Shelby Woo?
Shelby Woo sounds familiar, but I don't remember what the hell that was.
That was the very hip, like, it was a Nickelodeon show. It was a live action. It was actually, thinking back, I'm not sure if it was very stereotypical or not, but thinking back, it was like, I think it seemed pretty progressive. It was like, it was an Asian girl who was working for the, she was like I'm not sure if she was a high school, if she was in high school or something, but she was like working for like just a police department, and they're like, oh, stay out of this, Shelby Will. We don't need you getting in all these shenanigans. So she was like, and then she would always
say Drew Carey, but she was like Drew. What's her name? Drew Carey. Nancy Drew Carey.
Yeah. I guess it was kind of like a Nancy Drew, and then she would always end up helping out solving the investigation. Remember when I was a kid, I remember it seemed very serious. Maybe if I went back and watched it now, it was very melodramatic. But they're really getting across like things with computers, because whenever they would like talk about, back when he was doing this, he accidentally bumped into him. Maybe when he did that, he grabbed, and when they were saying this, it would be like a window for like a browser frame popped up replaying it. Was there saying
all these things? You're like, why can't I do that actually on a computer? Well, computers. Well, fuck. It's movie special effects. Damn it. Someday you will be able to. Yeah. No. Brisco County Jr. It's not even a kid's show. It's a Western show that had starred Bruce Campbell. But when I was a kid, I didn't realize who Bruce Campbell was yet. But it was my, like, original favorite live-action show. It was like one of those shows where it's like, Mom, what time's the Cowboy Show come on? You know, one of those ones before you even knew what the title was. You're just like, Cowboy Show! Cowboy Show! and then it came on. We'd watch it together, and it was one where it was a Western, but it had kind of like a little bit of comedy in it and a little bit of sci-fi in it too.
Huh? And it's a Bruce
Campbell
show?
starred in it, which I didn't know at the time, and I couldn't even remember what the title was for a long time. I was just like, what the hell was that cowboy show that we used to watch back in the day? Back in the day when you only had like 2.5 stations of stuff, so And this is a show that practically nobody really watched. It kind of like came out and went away, and that was about it. Because I think it was one of those kind of things. It was a Western that was kind of coming maybe off of like the Young Guns kind of thing, like hoping that Westerns are still popular enough, but maybe not. And, and almost the sci-fi elements in it, they sort of remind me almost kind of like Big Trouble in Little China, kind of like, even though I know that's a little bit more fantasy, but they kind of remind me like that kind of special effects and things like that going on in the show. Just enough to kind of add this extra layer to it. But I found the whole set for $10, like 8 discs worth, like, 1,200 minutes of the show. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'll take that for $10. Goddamn right. And I put it in, and it's like, I haven't seen that show since 1993 when it came out. And I'm playing the first episode. And, it's pretty good. It still holds up well, as long as you like Westerns and things like that. I mean, TV is one of those ones that almost in general, I don't think TV, even modern TV, I don't think holds up, a handful of years down the line. If you like the show, then you always will kind of like it. But it's sort of like Firefly. You look back at Firefly, if somebody was going to show you, let's say you never saw Firefly and someone's like, oh, dude, you got to check this show out. You would probably put it on and go, well, this is pretty fucking hokey. But if you grew up with it, you kind of forget that stuff, going into it. But going with Brisco,
I feel like Firefly works out well. Did I cut you off? It got all static.
Yeah, you probably did, but that's okay.
Go ahead, man.
With Brisco County Jr., I mean, it's maybe kind of in that similar. It reminds me kind of like if you like Firefly, you could maybe get into this show. But maybe if you had no attachments to it, it's like, who cares? But the cool thing, too, I noticed, going back, on Brisco County, the cool thing in the first episode, I was just watching, I'm like, okay, this is great going along. And then all of a sudden, they got the number 3 train appears in there. So I was like, oh, fuck, they shot that up here in Jamestown? I didn't realize that. Because that number 3 train, that's the one that's in Back to the Future 3. It's also in The Unforgiven. I think it's in Bad Girls as well, too. And then it's also in a bunch of older Westerns that were shot in Tuolumne County back in the day. It's sort of dismantled right now. They were like repairing it, and I think they still are.
Well, my thing is, how many Westerns are actually still shot in Jamestown or Tuolumne County? Because it was one of those things.
They haven't shot anything since 1994.
It was one of those things where it was kind of the go-to location up all the way until like the early 90s, and then it just suddenly just stopped. And maybe because people don't film as Westerns as much as they used to. I mean, you might get a couple small little productions up there, but not very many,
Yeah, the last movie to be shot in Tuolumne County was Bad Girls, 1994. And the main reason why that movies will probably never, ever be shot in Tuolumne County again, in general, other than small things, is that Tuolumne County fucked themselves because they're like, oh, yeah, we can get Hollywood by the balls now. They could pay us all sorts of fucking tax revenue. And then Hollywood, said, you know what? Fuck you guys. We're going to Canada.
It seems Canada
and Tuolumne County's been blacklisted ever since for like movie making.
Really? Wow, fuck.
Yep. So because once again, I think that's a downfall. Sometimes small towns, all you gotta do is get one greedy motherfucker in there who's like gonna go like, I'm gonna take these big fat cat guys and take them for all they're worth. And then next thing you know, that they realize that no, you aren't fucking a very unique place. I mean, yeah, it was great because, it's all of 6 hours away from Hollywood. You got all this old-fashioned Western stuff kind of still set up. You got the trains. You got all these things. But here's the thing. So does about 50 other places in the whole U.S. and Canada and Mexico. And Australia.
That's just funny. When you walk into, like, any, like restaurant or old antique store, more in Tuolumne County, of, like, something from Unforgiven or Back to the Future 3. I'm like, this happened here. Remember? Well,
that's the sad part.
Please tell me you remember.
They hold on to like their top 10 list of like, remember when, High Noon was shot here? Yeah. The 50s.
Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah. It's just like, yeah, that's great. But you know what would be nice is if you actually had something that was a little bit more modern. I don't mean that like in a snarky way, but I mean, now you're just literally holding on to what happened in the past. You're like that failed kind of rock star guy. It's like, remember my hit in 1976? Yeah. Too bad you didn't write any after that.
Yeah, 9 days. We remember. It's a song about a girl. They cried a river and drowned the whole world.
Right? You guys want to do a cover of it, don't you? I could stand in. I could fill it and sing. No. I don't think people even remember that song nor care.
If you need a headliner for the state fair, like, oh well, you could open for a Journey cover band. You can do that.
Well, I'm an original act. Yeah, I feel the Journey cover band's actually a little bit more original. People actually want to see them. That's the difference.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's
I can't talk too much. Can't talk too much shit on. I get it. I get how it's the go-to. I don't want to try and talk too much shit on like one-hit wonders because that's further than what most people got. But still,
no, well, it's like there's nothing wrong with being a one-hit wonder, but I think it's that thing when you try to live off of it. And I don't know. We've mentioned this before on the podcast, but it's kind of like some of the people you see at Comic-Con who like did one cool thing in their life, and now for the next 40 years they're gonna make money off of it. And it's just kind of like, well, why don't you go out and try to do another cool thing? I mean, you got clearly the revenue. You've got, I mean, who doesn't want to hire, this one actor? There's got to be somebody director out there who really likes your stuff that you can at least kind of have a comeback. But it's like, nope, I'm going to live off that one thing. That's it. I will go to my grave as that one thing.
And charge $45 for an autographed picture.
Yeah, one of those things. So, I don't know, but it is kind of a bummer when people try to hold on to that and they can't get anything new going on. And that's sort of the sad thing, too. It's like, realistically, and I know California as a whole is kind of a place where people generally don't want to shoot movies anymore because it just became too expensive, So, I mean, I get that, there's always going to be the handful of movies that will always be shot in LA so they don't have to drive anywhere. And there'll be the ones once in a while they're like, okay, get a couple shots of San Francisco and we'll do the rest in CG.
I feel like that's what Ant-Man was, because watching that movie, I was looking for a lot of like recognizable places. And I feel like, okay, I know they actually had to get Paul Rudd to walk down that corner of the Tenderloin. I recognize that. And then maybe a few other things, but everything else in that movie looks like it could be shot like on like a studio.
And that's probably how it is. It's like you get a couple exposing shots just to give the feel of whatever city you're in. And then from that point on, I was like, fuck it, just go somewhere else. We'll just shoot the rest of the movie in Albuquerque.
Which part of me understands. I mean, because, it's expensive. Shit, when Kevin Smith, of all people, decides to shoot Clerks 2 in Los Angeles, that's where that shit, it must be expensive to go back or go do something like that.
Well, what makes that kind of always expensive? The fact that then you got to fly all your people out there. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, you're spending god-awful money for that. So that's where I understand why things are still kind of shot in Los Angeles. It's like you kind of go, okay, you got the tax or you got the travel. Let's just go up the tax. The tax is probably cheaper there. But then when you get to other cities, like say San Francisco or something like that, you're kind of like, well, we'll just get we'll get about 3 days worth of shooting, and then we'll just do the rest somewhere else.
Yeah, which I get that. But it's still one of those things. Now, when you're younger, you just kind of think, oh wow, I know that area. Now you're thinking about like when you get a little older, you're just like, yeah, that was probably just an exterior shot and this and that. You're almost like the wonderment's almost gone. Like.
Well, have you ever seen High Noon?
Actually, no, I haven't. I probably should, but
that one's fun to watch just to see the shots of Columbia, and I think they have some Jamestown ones in there. But like, since it's Columbia, of course, it's like just because it was 60 years ago doesn't mean it looks any different. But it's funny. It's just like, oh, there goes Gary Cooper walks around the corner. Oh, I know where that is right there. That's right next to the fire station. And then it goes back to some weird exterior that doesn't look anything like Columbia anymore. Or interior, and then it's back to like, oh, there's another shot of him walking past, the stagecoach, and then back to, another interior where you're like, oh, that's clearly not Columbia anymore.
Well, there's one that actually one thing about Columbia, and this is going to be very local. This might like just maybe scare some people off. Like, I don't give a shit about where you guys are from, but the thing about Columbia
don't you like High Noon and Back to the Future 3?
Find a way to relate to the audience now. The thing about Columbia is they want to be reserved and they want everything to resemble like the olden times there, especially that main street. Now, the thing what's stupid about that is they want to make it look like the olden days, like it's still like gold panning era.
It's still 1868.
Yet that road that no one's allowed to drive on is fucking paved. So, even though it's paved and you're not supposed to drive down it, they have a big the tax dollars that went into paving that road And now it's just like, so now that's one more reason why people probably aren't going to shoot there. Because like, oh, why aren't they going to walk down the main street no more? Well, they can only shoot them from the waist up, or at least have them against the building. Because if they just go just barely look down, like, oh, that's fucking pavement.
No, yeah, that's pretty goofy. I mean, the one thing I can guess is they probably did that at one dumb time where they're like, oh, well, this will, they probably did it when they're shooting black and white movies, so nobody thought of it. And two,
Maybe.
It was that thing that probably keeps the dust down. For the fact that would probably be if you're a store owner in Columbia, that's probably a pain in the ass with all the dust just flying up as like tourists drag their feet, and you got fucking Boy Scouts like kicking sand at each other. But other than that, though, yeah, it's like, well, yeah, that just destroyed the entire authenticness of it. So now it's gonna always look like it's at least 1920. If you're lucky.
Our buddy Cisco was in like a little independent Western that was shot down there, and he got us to be in it to be extras. And that was the thing about that, because they're shooting a lot of that around Columbia, and there is so much of this. Just don't look down. Just don't look down. The camera always had to be from the waist up. Like, as long as we're in this farm, or as long as we're in the saloon, we're fine.
Well, that was one of those movies. Like the movie was so kind of like slapsticky that I feel like if you saw fucking Pavement, that is the least of anybody's worry. It's not like you're shooting this authentic Western that it's gonna have to need like it has to resemble 1868. It's like, well, this one was more like... It was weird because it was kind of shot like... Did you ever see The Villain with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I know of it.
Well, that one's kind of like... It's almost like a Roadrunner slapsticky live-action movie, if that makes any sense. It's like the closest thing to like if you wanted to do Warner Brothers Looney Tunes, but without the Looney Tunes in live action. Like, it has those kind of gags in it. Which it's not a bad movie, but it's probably like one of the weakest of Arnold Schwarzenegger's ones. It's totally like fan only by this point.
Yeah,
but Arnold fans say, "Hey, probably, it's Arnold in a Western."
Like the Arnold fans probably like, "Oh right, that one."
Well, that was the one where I remember when they first started doing commentaries. I'm like, "Do the villain, goddammit! That'll be a fun one." And then they finally did it like on their third one.
I need to see The Villain. I've never seen that.
Well, yeah, it's a movie that almost like nobody's really seen. You pretty much can't talk with it on the street with somebody unless they're like a super Arnold fan. But it is
up there with Hercules Goes to New York. Or
Hercules Goes to New York. I actually would say I like that one more. Actually, that one's pretty fun. That is a pretty good movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, The Villain's kind of one of those ones where it's like you watch it probably about like once like every 15 years.
Like, like just to remember, like just to go like you can't forget where we come from. It's a history lesson.
Yeah. So it was that. But yeah, it is kind of a bummer though with like movie wise. It's like there's so much great stuff that you could shoot Western. But nowadays it seems like one of the main things they shot in like the last 15 years, whenever they do a Western, like twice a year, they would shoot them in Canada or Australia. And they still use New Mexico from time to time, that area. Because I think you can't really replicate the look of, well, half of New Mexico. You think that all of New Mexico is going to look like that, and then you realize that like, oh no, that's like a quarter of it. The rest of it's all boring and nothing. But that quarter's really badass looking.
Yeah, well, was the guy who you might know this because I didn't really know that Tuolumne just put on this big tax. Like, well, if you're gonna come to Tuolumne, you're gonna give us a fuck ton of money. Like, was that actually the fucking mayor you interviewed when you're writing for like the college paper?
Probably not, because unless that guy's been mayor for like 20 years, I don't think so.
Okay, because that guy really, when I shook that guy's hand before he did his interview, and he really seemed like, I am the mayor of Tuolumne, of like Sonora. Who wants to suck my dick?
That's pretty much what that guy was, because he was like, yes, she's like, we need to make sure we get at all these big corporate businesses because people are going to Modesto. So instead, we will wipe out the mom and pop businesses and put in Walmarts and McDonald's and all these things so people don't have to go to Modesto anymore. And it's like, well, you do realize that now people are going to Modesto to fucking go to mom and pop places, even though that's kind of a lost one too, because now Modesto barely has any.
I imagine that he takes his son up to the top of the red church that overlooks Sonora, and he said,
"See this? All this?
He's like,
this
everything the light touches is yours." What's that dark spot up in the corner, Father? That is Oakdale. We never go there.
Yeah, don't go to Oakdale. It's like the other Sonora. No, unless that guy for some reason has been fucking mayor for God knows how long. He was pretty old, so I guess maybe he could have like, I've got this town by the balls. Me and the Ku Klux Klan will never stop.
Oh, that guy looked like he, at some point, if he's not if he's not a member, he at least donated or he has Thanksgiving with one of them.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, okay. That was the kind of guy who's like, they're like, hey, Mayor, I can't remember what the guy's name is, but it's like, Mayor Bill, Mayor. It's like, fucking hide yourself. You can't fucking just show. He's like, take that fucking costume off. He's like, it's not a costume. It's my uniform. Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. We're out here in public. You do know we have minorities in Sonora now. We got to keep a much more lower profile. No, that guy just seemed like a god-awful person.
Yeah, he just was that total, like, he seemed like, you know, kind of like the, he used to go out and be like the guy in the Letterman jacket, like, there's one, but then got like a little bit more successful.
Like, fag drag.
Yeah.
They're like, we ran another queer out of this town.
Then he got a little bit more successful, like, look, guys, not that I don't agree with it, just the polls show. Oh, it's always the polls now, Bill. Well, shit, you like doing what you want to do, you need funding, you need to follow the fucking polls.
He's like, this is how we get our in. This is how we keep the Ku Klux Klan alive in Sonora. Because they can't know about us now. The world's a different place. After the 60s revolution, it's a hard time, you know. Us rednecks are getting outnumbered.
That was one of those things, because you know that, like, the fucking KKK in Sonora, and, like, I'm sorry, folks, this is a very, like, local episode here, but
this just sounds like we come from the most god-awful place, too. Somebody came like, oh my god, this is an area where that Ku Klux Klan is, like, hidden, and, like, you know, and this is probably why they don't allow fucking movies to be shot there anymore.
A friend of a friend's kid told me that all they really do is just sit in fold-out chairs and bitch about Obama. And I can honestly believe that. Oh. Like, one of them doesn't even show up, like, in the outfit. Like Sturgis, where's your goddamn hood? Like, man, it's in the wash. My fucking bitch of a wife, like accidentally, like, spilt some fucking gravy on it. God damn it. So, you know, we all know who's who. We don't need the fucking hoods. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we got past the hoods. You know, now we can just kind of ease in. Oh, you'll like this, though. When I was watching Brisco County Jr., this is like a far back callback that probably nobody will remember on the podcast, but there's a part where it's got these Chinese guys, they touch this, like, space object, and they get these electric powers, and they kind of break free from their chains and escape. They literally go to an underground Chinese city. And I remember, like, when we talked about the underground Chinese city of Sonora that we know exists, though no one speaks of it.
Well, my thing is that Sonora is, like, there's, like, 5,000. It's a very small city, or a very small, like,
there's more
county.
than that.
Let's say, no, I'm not even done. Like, 5,000 Chinese restaurants.
Oh, okay.
There's, like, fucking a million. There's so many Chinese restaurants.
There's more Chinese restaurants probably than there is American restaurants.
Yeah, and I never see any of these people out in public. I don't see them out in public. I assume there's, like, this Batman and Robin-esque pole they slide down into, like, some underground city, you know?
Exactly. Well, that's what made me laugh, because Brisco County Jr., because that show mostly takes place somewhere in East California. So for all I know, it could be Tuolumne County, because they mentioned Stockton. There's a couple episodes where they're, like, in San Francisco area, and they're going back and forth. So they're, like, dead center California, if not somewhere up, you know, Tuolumne County, Calaveras County ish. So, like, when they had the underground, like, there it is, living proof. That's a TV show. Yeah, but living proof. This is the underground Chinese city. I knew it.
You see Lopan there at some point.
Yeah, exactly. But no, let's, like, this is like the show. Like, let's talk about towns that probably people have never been to, shows that people have probably never seen.
But you've seen them in movies. Now you know the real story.
Yeah, but you know who a Chinese person is, a Ku Klux Klan member is, and Bruce Campbell.
Make it relatable. Chinese people, KKK, and Bruce Campbell. We all know what those are. Shit.
Yeah. You could go to a 5-year-old's class and say, point to the Ku Klux Klan member. Probably getting close. You know, the farther time goes on, the more and more that probably gets kind of like, okay, this is getting put away.
I just love that little bundle. Just little, like, here's our 3 demographics we're aiming for.
Exactly.
No, but, like, I've been watching Ash versus the Evil Dead. I'm not done with it yet, but that show is actually that show's everything. I'm not done with it yet. Go ahead.
Oh, you were talking?
Oh yeah, gotta go. Oh, staticky there. That shows everything I want out of an Evil Dead anything. It's kind of like, I'm not done with it yet. Hopefully it doesn't drop the ball in the last couple episodes, but
it doesn't.
That show, it's like, I'm actually kind of glad. I was like, Evil Dead show is cool. but I'd prefer a movie.
That's kind of how I felt too, because it's mostly whenever something's a TV show, it mostly becomes kind of weaker material, but not this one.
It's fucking tight. It knows what people want to see, and it doesn't fucking hold back. There's the part where I mean, because I know it's a show, and there's certain things they're not gonna like, you know. I mean, I feel like even though I know it's rated R, it's on Showtime. There's still certain things they won't do. I was really surprised they still went to that B horror level of when like the bad guy, when like one of the zombies like grabbed the kid. He's just like, "You're a part of my fan club," and just chucks him into the ceiling fan. It's so like so much more violent and so much more gory than you'd expect it to be.
It's probably because it's Stars, because Stars can probably be ballsier than those other stations.
Oh, it's Stars? Yeah. Well, I know that I know they can do that, but it's also one of those things where it's like, I know they would do that, but they also went out of their way to give you this false sense of security at the beginning because you see the kid in the bathroom stall and he just barely gets out of there. Like, okay, this is probably some little kid they're going to help out throughout this episode, and then he's off and safe. And then all of a sudden you see, nope, thrown right into a fucking fan. And like a couple like younger, like preteen girls get thrown through a window, ice skating the side of their head. Like, oh shit, this show does not hold back.
No, that show is great. And I think this is the other thing that I think is actually one of the best takeaways from it. The time length they are, like the 30-minute exactly episodes, best length for any kind of show. Because the downfall of most TV shows, I always feel, is when they're the 45-minute length.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it feels like you had a half-an-hour episode, and then you had to put 15 minutes of filler. Like just about every show, even like the good ones. It's always like that. Well, there's the 15 minutes of filler. That was always I always thought was the Breaking Bad downfall, was that you had this great episode, but then you had to put the 15 minutes of filler in it, and that was always kind of obnoxious. Where Ash versus the Evil Dead is just fucking nonstop from minute 1 to half an hour, and it's like over. You're like, oh, what the fuck? There was no filler in it. It was just all pure content, and that's what I love. I wish more shows did that. And most of the time, the only other things that that are like the straight half an hour, or sometimes the older animes used to be that. So I don't know if in Japan they just like, oh, we didn't know what the commercial was yet. We just made content. You could put ads between these things and sell stuff. Now, I don't know if that was the case, but you watch any old like 90s and back anime, and they're all like a lot of times straight half an hours. Like Street Fighter V's like that. I know New Dominion Tank Police was like that, but maybe those came on premium channels for all I know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a good point right there. But yeah, this show though is everything I want out of an Evil Dead show, and I gotta finish it at some point. It's at that point where usually when I watch something, it's when I go to sleep. But it's hard to sleep to that show. So, and not because it's so scary, but it's more of just it's so loud, and so there's always something going on. So now it's just a matter of just putting time to the side to watch it. Really.
I know. Actually, I bought recently, because I realized I had a shitty copy of Army of Darkness. It was like, I put it in, it was like, not in widescreen? Fuck this. Amazon, I need a new version. I don't know what it is. That's like the number one thing that bothers me. If I have to watch a movie and it's like, oh, they didn't fucking format it for widescreen TVs. It's just like, when it's either you gotta pull out your fucking old TV to watch it, or else you gotta suffer with like shitty picture and it not fitting properly. I know it sounds like such a horrible thing, but I was like, whatever. I went on there and there was a Shout Factory release of Army of Darkness. I was like, oh, fuck. 3-disc version of Army of Darkness? Give me that rape edition. And I bought it, and it was just kind of cool. It came with 4 versions of the movie. So you had the theatrical version, the director's cut, and then there was like an international cut, and then there was the TV version. So it was pretty much like the Blade Runner, like Ultimate Edition, but of like Army of Darkness. It had like an 1.5 hour long documentary on it, and then a couple older ones, and then some like a couple other 20-minute ones on there. It was like, holy crap, multiple commentaries. I was like, dude, this is a fucking release. It cost like $25, but... And it must have just recently came out because on the special features, they talk about Ash versus the Evil Dead. So it must have came out right when that show was probably the first season was coming out.
I have to look the thing up right there.
Yeah, it looks like it sounds weird, but I think it's out of print because I had to buy it on Amazon from like a regular seller. They didn't have any like Amazon ones. I mean, as I said, it costs like almost $25, but definitely well worth it.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't buy as much like older DVDs as I used to. Before it used to be this weird, crazy like hunt for just weird, obscure movies. But now it's at that point, ever since like Netflix and other streaming services is at the point like, well, I can still see it and I don't have to go out of my way and buy it. So now it's almost become just strictly like new movies, most cases,
It's funny. I practically never watch Netflix or any of those ones, even though I pay for them. Most I just feel like, well, I pay for it so that Laura, my dad, has something to watch. It's like my dad was like the one. It's like I go on my list of Netflix now
because so you can watch his Marvel shows.
Yeah, so I can watch like everything. It's just you look at all the things he's watched, like holy crap. But for me, it sounds weird. It's still easier for me just to throw a DVD in, or a Blu-ray. And I like the quality still of a Blu-ray, because the downfall is, you like, even though it's like, I mean, now if you're just streaming like whatever stuff, that's fine, but you just don't get the same quality. Like if I want to watch a movie like something like, Army of Darkness, now that's probably one that like it's totally kind of like a must-own, but I like to watch the movie like almost like the best way possible. It was kind of like when I went out and bought those Transformers movies. It's like if I'm gonna sit down and watch 10 hours of Transformers, I'm just gonna watch them on Blu-ray. I don't want to like half-ass this. Those are probably perfect Blu-ray movies anyways. So let's just watch that. Then I can watch it on my 60-inch TV and like really enjoy it.
I feel like you're committed more than what that movie's aimed at.
I know, I think so too. But it's like, nope, this
fucking overachiever.
Well, one, you could only stream like 2 of them, so it's like, well, fuck, I'm not just gonna do that. If I gotta watch all 4 of them, I might as well just get it. So strange, it's weird. And then also, I feel like Netflix, because next thing you know, or any of those ones, you could be there and you're like, oh fuck, it's been 25 minutes. And I've been just flipping through looking for something. Where a DVD is more like, this one, and I put it in. I mean, I can do that sometimes where I'll sit there and like look through like my DVD, like what to watch. But mostly I just got like, here's my stack of the 30 DVDs that I have yet to watch. Look at some of them are sealed for like the last year. It's got dust on the cover. Maybe I'll watch that one.
I'll say that when people are browsing, this is going to sound first world as fuck right here. When people are browsing through Netflix, it's one thing when it's you. When you're by yourself and you could
browse all night long if you wanted.
But when you're browsing with someone else on Netflix, it is seriously one of the most infuriating things. Like, just fucking pick something.
I like my dad's way. He's just kind of come to conclusions like, if you don't know what to watch, 4 down, 3 across. You just have to go with whatever 4 down and 3 across is.
Strawberry Shortcake, the remake. Yeah, let's see what happens.
And that's what it is. But yeah, no, it's like one of those ones, like I couldn't even tell you the last time I actually watched Netflix. It's been so long.
It's been weird little miscellaneous movies. I saw Event Horizon on there, and after listening to the Junk Food Cinema thing on it, I started watching that, so.
Nice. As I said, yeah, the last couple things I've just been watching, I bought a handful of movies, some neat ones that like I've been looking for a long time. I haven't watched them yet. Like I found there was an Evil Dead 2 on Blu-ray that was like, oh, fuck, this thing's got a brand new, like, hour-and-a-half long documentary on it. I'll fucking buy that for $5. And then, because I was just kind of, it was like, Ash vs. the Evil Dead came out on Blu-ray, and then I just started going back. It's like, well, I'm getting back into these again. Let's go down the list.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what else I find? Oh, I found Silent Night, Deadly Night. That was another movie from, like, my old movie list. Remember back in the day when we actually physically wrote down what movies we were looking for?
Yeah.
When we all had like our list, and you would go to like the city and you would take your physical list. You would like pull it out like it's a map. Like, like, okay, the buried treasure here. And then you'd start like browsing through like a Rasputin's or Amoeba or something like that. And you would go down your list.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah.
Those were good times. I miss the old fashioned, like, cause now, sometimes I'll go to something like a Rasputin's, and there was a time period that was like going to a fucking like the Indiana Jones Lost Ark storage place. You were like, oh my God. Especially like the one in San Francisco was like 5 stories of music, movies, and video games.
I'm about to break your heart here.
Are they closing it finally?
That one got moved over to the shittier Rasputin's on 8th Street. So it's still kind of there, but...
So it's kind of there, but they got rid of the good one?
Because the one on Haight Street it's not like god awful, but it doesn't got nearly as good of a selection. The one on Powell and Market though, that was like you said, 5 stories. Just this floor is hip hop and this floor is rock music. This one's alternative. This one's movies. There's anime.
Literally a classical section, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like just such an. It was almost like coming from like a. Now it's reached that point though. I mean, I don't.
It's not a big deal anymore, but there was a time period where that was like the most mind blowing place you could go to.
And you see like you kind of go to like, you go to like some area like what the fuck is this? Like, well, this is like Asian horror films. This is called Asian extreme horror films. So it's like things like I Saw the Devil and the original like Ring and all that kind of stuff. Like, what the fuck? You know, there's like
this
so
time
many
it's like,
weird.
I can't find any of this stuff at Best Buy. You know?
Yeah. It was like so many weird little subcategories. And then they had, they even had like a section for like B horror films and things like, independent
and you can like go by like sometimes like 70s movies and 60s movies, and there was so much cool stuff. And as I said, like I stepped into one. I went to the Berkeley one a while ago, and it was fun to browse around. And don't get me wrong, there's something kind of cool about it. But I think due to kind of the internet,
you're in Berkeley, you're across the bridge. You didn't call me.
That was when we went to the Alestorm concert in fucking Alameda or Oakland area.
You guys were here? Oh, motherfucker. I didn't know
we should have just invited you to it, because I was like, wait, Dunigan would have liked. That was where I literally, there was a band that opened up for Alestorm, and I was like, oh my fucking God. There's like Dunigan and a heavy metal band. It was like, he moved the same way. He had like the same haircut. He had the beard. It was like.
He moved the same way?
No, he did. Like, it was like uncanny almost. It was like, oh my, there's a they cloned you at one point. Fucking maybe Dr. Wong would like took a blood sample one time when he bumped into you. He's like, oh, never. What was that? Oh, never mind. Don't worry about it, Dunigan-san. Even though he's not Japanese, but still.
And Psalm would imply respect, so yeah.
But it was it was called. There was a band was called Aether Realm, and they were kind of like Viking metal. They had the kind of fun. They're like Viking metal from North Carolina.
Well, it's one of those things like, you sent me that picture like. This is your doppelganger. I'm like, is this you or something? I'm like, I had to stop for a second. Like, is that me? Fuck.
Yeah. I was like, it's your Tyler Durden. When you go to sleep, this guy comes out and plays concerts.
I was like, maybe it is. Shit. Huh. Yeah.
It was funny, too, because we even talked to the guys like, oh my God, he talks like Ryan, too. It was so weird.
He just, like, lingers and kind of pauses a lot and just kind of, like, just rambles.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It just made me laugh. I was like, oh wow, because you see people that are like similar looking, but then when you see those people, they're like, oh man, that is like really close.
I gotta talk to this guy.
You should.
It might just be all my personal flaws that I know I have. I'll just see on him like, dude, you really gotta fix this.
It'll be like looking at a mirror.
Yeah.
He'll be looking back.
Is this like a tale of two cities or something like that?
Yeah. It's like, here, let's switch places for a while, and like no one will know the difference. I've always wanted to have an evil Asian landlord.
What's this guy's shtick? Well, he tries to work on cartoons and does a lot of writing. What's this guy? He's a bass player for a metal band?
No. He was like I think he was almost the lead guitar player.
Okay, so I just got to get up there and I just got to come up with an excuse why I can't go out and play. Like this is the tour that's going to get us signed. If you don't, we're not going to get signed. Like, I'm sorry guys, my hands fell asleep permanently,
That's okay. Mostly like sometimes I realize like you go to a concert and you go, you really could hit so many wrong notes, and unless you're like a band like Kiss where somebody's going to fucking know because they've listened to your music so much. Mm-hmm. Nobody has any idea that you fucking messed up. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you're on beat and you look like you're doing it right, it's like nobody really has any idea. There's too much noise going on.
I think people notice more if you're a musician. Maybe if you're a musician, you catch it more.
But even myself, I noticed it because I'm like, when they're bands where I don't really know their songs, like I listened to Aether Realm, and the other band was called Necro Goblin. Like I made sure I listened to them before I went to the concert. That seems like that's the best thing to do. If you don't do that before you go to concerts, listen to the bands that you don't know who they are, then you just stand there going like, I don't know what's going on. But as long as you have a little bit of an idea, it's like, okay, well, I heard this song or I heard that song. But a lot of times I kind of go, for all I know, they could be hit. I mean, like not totally wrong notes, but I mean, you could really kind of mess up all the time. And as long as it's not really offbeat, nobody's going to really know at the end of the day when craziness is going on.
When I saw Chickenfoot with my dad in Tahoe, he pointed this out. I didn't even notice. He says there's a couple of times when someone would hit a wrong chord or get the wrong beat, and then the other guy would look at him kind of like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while you could kind of catch those things if you're like looking hard enough. But I think for the most part, like 99% of people don't even notice that.
I didn't even notice it so much.
Yeah.
He pointed it out. I'm like, I guess I did kind of notice like there's the bass player that it's not Joe Satriani. Joe Satriani was doing good the whole time, but there's the other Van Halen bass player.
Michael Anthony.
Yeah. My dad pointed out that he I'm just going off what he told me. Maybe he just doesn't like that guy. Maybe just talking. Maybe just spreading shit. But yeah, he totally fucked it up.
I don't know. Fuck Michael Anthony.
He said he pointed out that like there's once or twice Chad Smith hit the wrong drum, or like Michael Anthony played the wrong chord, and Sammy Hagar or Joe Satriani would like just shoot him a glance for a second, which I that happens.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the whole point of live music. That's almost like what makes live music special.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, then Alestorm played, and if anybody doesn't know what Alestorm is, it's not that band called Hailstorm, because that's what, whenever you tell somebody like, oh, dude, you fucking like Alestorm, and they're like, did you like that pretty much chick like trailer trash music band? And it's like, no, pirates, all men, pirates. And you're like, oh, that sounds almost even worse. At least the other one had a chick in it. Now you're just talking about like fucking ass pirates. But that band's like, in like the last, 5 or 6 years or whatever I've been listening to that band, that's been one of my favorite bands. Just so much fun. Like, I don't know, it's one of my favorite genres. Is sort of like that folk metal kind of thing. It's almost like that's why like the Dropkick Murphys, like about like halfway through their career, it's like, oh, once they started adding bagpipes and everything like that, it's like it went up a level for me.
Yeah.
And that's in a sense what these guys are, but they just have like keyboards instead. And they got kind of like the pirate feel, and they're all about sailing and crusading and fighting and drinking and all kinds of stuff like that. Just really fun music. So it was sweet being at that concert. We were like literally fucking dead center, hands on the stage, fucking crotch level view to like these bands. And it was just like, oh, wow, this is fucking...
Sounds amazing for you.
Well, it's just that point where you're like, if somebody, like when they walk
like
up...
Laura, there's his dick!
Yeah, that's probably what it was. It's just like, yeah, if somebody like hit you in the back of the head and you went forward, it's like my head would have bounced off his keyboard. Because the singer guy has like a keytar, so it's like, it's right there in your face. But, yeah, that was real fun. Got to meet like most of the guys. It was kind of like when we went to see Wednesday 13. It's like, oh, okay, we got a picture of the guitar player and Wednesday 13 and got to meet those guys. And then all of a sudden you're like, can I meet the drummer? It's like, no, no, you can't.
Well, Wednesday 13, it wasn't even kind of like, can we meet the drummer? They were just all sitting in the corner, like separate parts of the room. That was the thing. Because like Wednesday came in, he was doing autographing, so was the guitar player. And then everybody else, like, the
guitar player wasn't even really doing it. We just kind of happened to, like, run into him afterwards. He was just kind of like, oh, you want my autograph? It's like, yeah.
He seemed a little bit more into it. Everybody else, there was one guy, there was, like, the bass player who was sitting there on his phone next to his girlfriend, not talking. Then there was the drummer, far corner, like, on his cell phone, just texting, and just... It was like so weird. It's just like everybody was literally on different sides of the room. It's like did Wednesday 13 like put a curse on them? Like if you talk to anybody and ask for and get like offer an autograph, you will be dragged to hell or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It was so weird. Well, it's like in this one, like I got a picture with like the main singer guy. I got to meet him, and it was funny. We even shared. He's like, oh, I was like, oh, we took pictures. Like, oh, he looks at me. He's like, oh, we're doing it like this. Well. I guess I love you. I'm like, oh, okay, love you too. It's like this, like awkward, like man.
Wait, your arm around his shoulder?
Yeah, like that.
And he was just kind of like, oh, really? All right, okay. And
he had this shirt on. It said something like, "I had fun with the gay dolphin" or something like that on. And then there's like, and he's from Scotland. And then the other guy is because they have these kind of somewhat newer people. They've been there for like I think the last album maybe or something like that. But they must be from like Norway or Sweden or something because they have really like strong, heavy accents. And got a picture of like the guitar player and the main keyboardist. And it was like kind of like, oh, I was just waiting to turn around and see like the fucking bass player and the drummer like cleaning everything up, like not allowed to go out and mingle.
Like they come out and the lead singer's like, back in your cage, like grabs like a chair, like, they hiss and crawl back into a cage.
I know, because it's like, well, where the hell? I mean, like, if they were there, I'd get pictures of everybody, but I guess not. But no, this place in Oakland was like a really, really cool venue. And I think they also have like kind of like a small like wrestling thing that goes on like once a week there. That's like what the security guard was telling me.
Cool, I wish I knew about it.
I know. Well, yeah, it's just one of those things. It kind of came up as like, oh, Alestorm. Well, let's go to that.
No, it's okay. You're only like.
And paused.
A 30-minute BART ride away. Not a big deal,
I know.
That's very quiet. I'm not sure. I'm more joking with you than anything, but the static, it stopped and just freeze framed on this very awkward looking at her face. Like, oh, did I really strike a nerve just now? Shit.
Well, that was like Kyle too, because Kyle afterwards was like, well, why didn't you guys fucking invite me? It's like, dude, Kyle, you were the guy that said, hey, let's go to Alestorm. And then like a week before, he's like, I might have to work. I don't think I can make it. And then we're like, oh, okay. So then there's this guy named Buddy who like, gets massages. He knows Cameron and everybody like that. And we're like, oh, well, Buddy's going there. Let's just hop along with him. And then Mayor Kyle's like, you didn't invite me? Like, well, you said you had to work. Bitch. I just assumed that it was done. It was like when we were buying tickets, you were unsure. So I said, well, I guess he's not going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
no, don't take. It's one of those things like, oh, I know you're in the area, but don't take it as me being that like that bitter or that sad about it, because I get it. It's probably a last minute thing, and chances are
it was kind of one of those ones because we're like, are we going or are we not going? Are we going or are we not going? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, Buddy's going. Well, let's just go with Buddy, and it's probably like 5 days away. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of went, and then we went to Berkeley and everything like that. I know you should have came because we went to the Pinball Museum in Alameda. That would have been kind of fun too.
When you texted me, I do think I was like work. I think I did have to work the next day when you texted.
Oh, okay.
Me. So
at least I don't feel too bad now.
Yeah.
But no, the Pinball Museum was fucking awesome in Alameda, and that was something I've been wanting to go to for like 2 years. It was like, next time in Alameda, which you kind of go, when the hell are you ever going to be in Alameda? But you're like, next time I am, I'm going to go to that fucking Pinball Museum.
Just in case I take the wrong freeway exit.
And that Pinball Museum was sweet. It's like you paid $10, and we were there for an hour. You got to play unlimited pinball. They had like over 100 fucking units. They had some from like 1898 all the way up to like modern ones. It was totally badass. And that's where they had that Rolling Stones one that I sent you that picture of.
Yeah, I was wondering what the fuck's that about. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It was like a 1978 Rolling Stones pinball machine that I played. And yeah, there was all kinds of cool things. They had like all kinds of like history stuff there and different ones. So if like you're into like, in a sense, like real retro gaming, that was pretty darn cool.
Thing about pinball machines and arcade, having an arcade unit, they're like the coolest thing at first, but then they just break down so easily and it's so expensive to like repair them. My dad, he used to have a pinball machine in his garage for like the longest time. Mm-hmm. But the thing really just, it took one small little piece. It cost like $800, and then the time to attach it to like this. It was an old like 1980. It looked like it wasn't 2001 Space Odyssey, but it had that kind of like the future. And
it was like we tried to get the rights to 2001, but they said no. So here's kind of a knockoff.
It was kind of like the artwork of it. I mean, it was this total space themed. It was cool, but it was a very like late 70s, early 80s type of kind of space motif, with astronauts and all that. And that thing, it was really cool. And I remember playing it, and I remember it working in our house for a while, in our garage for a while. But then, just some point it just stopped working, and it was just like, I think the last time it worked, I had to be probably like maybe in the third grade. Well, there's so many working parts and wires and electronics in a pinball machine that like I could totally understand why. And that's probably like almost like the downfall of pinball machines is just how expensive they are to create and make and all kinds of stuff. Even though they're really cool things, and what made it kind of nice going this way, I mean, like, it's cool to play some of the really old ones, but for me too, it's like, oh dude, there's the ones like I like the Indiana Jones one. I fucking remember when that came out, and they had that in the pizza parlor, and like the Back to the Future one, and all these other like little pinballs you kind of see along the way, and that to me was really cool. The only one I was kind of bummed they didn't have is they didn't have the Jurassic Park one, because I remember that one being like, oh my god, there's a fucking Jurassic Park pinball machine, which I think they have that at Santa Cruz, but. I mean, there's a pinball machine for nearly everything. I think it's more of just because it's always the same fucking game. I think it's always like one of those things like, well, what's cool about it is like the particular motif. Like I remember like
the theme.
You walk by like, oh, Addams Family pinball, whatever. Oh my god, Mario pinball.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like same game, but that's almost like what gets you in there. I remember, after a while, when pinball machines started becoming rare, I remember at Pizza Factory in Twainhart, they had it was like NBA pinball, but like at the time you're like, it's pinball, that's good enough. If this is all we get, I don't care. It might not be a theme that I care about. It's probably like, play like the Charles Barkley pinball adventure.
It's literally, when it gets down to it, it really is just kind of like a desktop wallpaper, really, when it gets down to it, is what the theme is.
Yeah, it really is. It's like one of these days, it's like, someday I'll own like a Jurassic Park pinball machine. That'd be like the only one. If I could just have one, that'd be my chosen one.
And I would like to have, I'm not going to lie, like, it's at that point where you're like, money is no object. Like, yeah, maybe then I would get the 1970s Rolling Stones pinball machine. But
those to me, it's just like just to have like even if you only had like 5 arcade cabinets in your house, there would be something just kind of fun. It looked cool because every single time you invite somebody over, they'd be like, "Oh, dude, what the fuck? You got one of these things? That's so badass." You know, it's kind of like because I almost look at it this way. You know, like in the olden days, it was always about like, I gotta have your bar. Once you got your bar, you invite your guest over, you make them drinks and all these kind of things like that. And then that started kind of fade away. Not saying that people don't have bars anymore, but there used to be a time period where it's just like, it was, everybody fucking had a bar. My grandpa, he was 97 years old. He still had like a little bar like built into his house. It was just like, well, you gotta have the bar. I mean, like, how are you supposed to entertain your guest?
Exactly, yeah.
One of those things. But for me, it's like, well, it's like, no. This is almost like for our like generation. It's like, no, what you gotta do is once you finally get it, you got your fucking arcade in like your house, so that you can like act like you got your arcade and then you got your pizza parlor like built into your house where you got your brick oven pizza. So when people come over, you can make pizzas for them, play video games. It'll be just like fucking 1995 at your favorite pizza parlor when you were kids.
Yeah, there is something about that when you're a kid and like when you go to whatever your favorite pizza parlor was and just go get a couple of quarters and go in the game while waiting for the pizza and just go back to playing video games. That was a big deal when you're a kid. I don't know if video games are doing that now. I'm not sure if pizza parlors really have that now because I remember the video game area was always crowded with kids.
Well, the sad part now is there's almost every time I go to a pizza parlor and they have an arcade, there's almost nobody in there except for myself. And once in a while you might see somebody kind of venture in there, but it is not. I just remember being like in 1995 and 4 and everything like that. You would stand in fucking line in Twainhart of all towns. There would just be like there'd be like 10 people plus in line for like each arcade cabinet. You would put your fucking quarters up and wait your turn. It was like all orderly and stuff like that. And it's just a bunch of like children and teenagers acting orderly, which sounds odd to say when you get older, but
I will say this is going to be like a very weird like I'm going to come back around to the main topic in a second, but it was a really weird little callback, which you never really, which it's like, oh my God, it's been so long. People this day and age don't get that. But there is the part like in Daredevil season 1 where somebody stashed like, I don't remember what it was. Somebody stashed like, a piece of evidence or something important inside of a pinball machine. And Wilson's Fisk's right-hand man, Wesley or Steakley, I think it's Wesley. He's standing behind the guy playing the game. He's like, back off, guy. He's like, back off, asshole. It's my turn. He's like, just puts his quarter down next to him. He's like, I got the next game. Like, that was something you forgot people would do that. They just put their quarter down next to him, like, next game.
Well, I remember one of the big, like, some of the games that were just ginormously, like, the fucking line when, like, out the arcade was when they got the Virtual Fighter cabinet, because it was like mind-blowing. Not only did you get this new fighting game, but it was like fucking in 3D, so it like blew the fuck out of everybody.
Anytime.
And I just remember like finally like I probably waited in line. It was almost that one where your parents are like, Jesus Christ, we've had this pizza sitting here forever, and they've been in line for like a half an hour. Like you're fucking gonna get on the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland or something like that. And you finally, it's like, okay, who are you gonna choose? Cage, he looks badass. Click, and then you finally get to play this game. And it's like, oh my God. And you probably get your ass handed to you because whoever the other guy is probably been playing it for the last, like, 2 hours because it's brand fucking new, but, he's probably been there all night long. And it was this experience was so cool.
There was a, what was it? There was a, shit regarding that. Oh, yeah, I remember there was this time when, maybe you're part of this conversation. It was like, that point this has had to be somewhere in mid-high school, where the concept of having some arcade games was still like seemed very plausible, or not plausible
because they weren't that expensive. Because I remember like when the mall was selling them, they were like $2,000, $3,000. So you thought like, well, that's not that far off.
I guess one of those things like, man, if I could have just like some weird situation where I just had like 4 or 5 of the top arcade games I'd have, which ones would it be? It would always be something kind of like, okay, you got the 3 ones that are obvious that you'd really want, like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or something like that, and then like, or like, I remember what my whole list was, but we'd always say like, dude, what would your like man cave like 4 or 5 arcade games be? Because that's to fit in the same room or whatever. And I remember mine was, and people are gonna laugh when they hear this. Mine was Sonic the Fighters because
that would be fucking badass to have one.
That was such a rare game, and it's basically a dumbed down version of Virtua Fighter when it gets down to it. It's not really an amazing game, but I remember that was like it was such a rare game. And then they came out with Sonic's Gym Collection. Never mind, scratch that off the list. That's done. But I remember there was actually one time in like a lot of people don't know of that game, and I remember this actually kind of made me feel it didn't take any real effort, but it made me kind of feel kind of special for a minute. I was in like a film class, and at some point the two main characters were playing video games, and they're playing Sonic the Fighters. One guy stood up and cheered in the class, like, yeah! Like, oh, that guy gets it.
Well, because it was a big deal. Sonic the Fighters was that game as a kid I fucking looked for and could never find. I remember going through Las Vegas, going to like all the casinos, and it was like, they gotta have a copy here. Where the fuck is it? And I could never find it.
I know. Yeah, the one time I went to Vegas when I was like 13 or 14, I came across like, oh, there it is.
What casino was it in?
It was like, I want to say, you know what? I'm trying to remember which casino it was. I think it was whatever the M&M Museum was. I want to say, because there's one, there was like one, because there's a bunch of stuff in Vegas, but I want to say there's the building, which is all kids shit. And there's one that was like, I think it was the M&M Museum. I don't know if it's still there. And the floor below that, they had a massive arcade, and one of which was that game. At least I remember it being that game.
Huh. Well, realistically,
they had a fighting game section. It was right next to Street Fighter Third Strike on a big widescreen.
Oh, that's badass. Well, realistically, back in the day, Vegas was like the fucking mecca of arcade games. It was kind of like, if you wanted to fucking play arcade games, especially like from the 90s on up, but like, I remember just like in the early 2000s, like, that was just the place where you went and you're like, holy fuck, I can find any of my like 80s and 90s ones that I've missed out on, plus they got all the latest ones. And the thing is every fucking casino had an arcade, so you could literally fucking arcade hop all night long. You know, because you get like your parents be like, here you go, guys, here's $40 for each of you. You're like, oh fuck, we're gonna go fucking hit Vegas up and fucking play arcade games. Which really, when you play arcade games, you can burn through fucking money like really fast because each game mostly costs like $1 anyways.
Here's what I really like right here. Of everything that like probably, you know, you can do in Vegas, you're going like, as soon as I get there, you know, like we're going to a car with a bunch of guys, like, man, as soon as we get there, we're getting us a pound of blow, we're going to playing some crafts tables, we're going to go to the fucking strip club, we're going to get fucking laid, and it's going to be the fucking most awesome night. Pan a car over. Fuck, dude, I hope they got Sonic the Fighters.
Well, when you're 12 years old, dude, that's what you want. You're like, dude, we're going to
the thing is, I know you do that if you went there now. Because you don't drink. So
because this is what it was. It'd be like 12 years old. It's like, oh, fuck, we're going to Vegas. Even though we're going to go hit the arcades. And then you'd be like, oh, my God, fucking Robin Williams is fucking on stage. Like, we got to go. And I remember, like, because we're there with, like, Cisco and his parents. We're like, oh, fuck, we got to go to Robin Williams, which you think about when you're later on in life, you're kind of like, this is a one and only time. But you're like, the parents you can see go like, yeah, $150 a ticket. No, we're not doing that.
I understand that.
Yeah. When you get older, you're like, totally. Well, I understood it because I was the fucking guest. I'm like, well, I don't make any decisions. If we do happen to go, this will be amazing. But I am the poor friend who, I always did the thing too. Is like, if we went out to dinner, I made sure I ordered like the cheapest thing on the menu because I always felt bad when other people had to buy, stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that was one of those ones where I remember like Cisco was like, dude, come on, Mom, we got a so cool. 12-year-old, like, come on, this is the fucking coolest thing ever.
It's like he's expecting like Mrs. Doubtfire Robin Williams or Genie from Aladdin Robin Williams. He's not expecting Robin Williams to be like,
do we want these 12-year-olds to be going to see Robin Williams?
It's like they're not going into the Robin Williams. It takes like a water bottle, like pretending to cum all over stage. Like, you know that thing when you're fucking your wife and you're just like, you're on Viagra and you're running out of cum, but you're still coming,
That 12-year-old, he's like, yeah, Robin Williams fucking peed on me. Woo! He's like, that's not, yes, I guess I did pee on the 12-year-olds in the audience in the front row. Because that might sound weird if I said it the other way.
This had to be when he was doing like around like that material of like Live on Broadway, when he's like pretending to eat someone out, just has his elbow, just you know.
It had to be because it was like 2000 or about 2001 maybe. It was like right when we were there.
That is one of my favorite stand-up routines. I can't think of a time I laughed as hard as I did watching that stand-up routine.
No, I don't think a lot of things top that. And it is one of those ones, like, in hindsight, it's like, you kind of think, it's like, whoa, man, that would have been real fucking, that would have been, like, prime Rob Williams to go see. But no, I do understand price-wise, because you know for a fact the tickets had to be, like, over $100. And over $100 in, like, the early 2000s would have been, like, $200 today.
Exactly. I had an opportunity to see him one time, but it was like I had to work the next day and it was expensive. I'm like, next time. And then later, he, not like a few weeks later, but I mean like probably like maybe a year later, he hangs himself. And it's just shit. That's why I feel kind of bad. I had an opportunity to see Iggy Pop over at the Masonic Theater, but I was like, it's expensive. And I'm thinking, fuck, he's getting up there. I should probably take
I know. That's always kind of how it is. You go, man, I really want, and you're like, oh, fuck, $150. Jesus Christ. And then for me, it's like, I always factor in, it's like, well, okay, the ticket's $150, but then like then it's like, then you got to pay for all the other stuff just to get there. And then you're like, fuck, next thing you know, it's like a $300 ticket. But you sound bad. It's like, but then you could see Iggy Pop. It's a weird toss-up, you know what I mean? You're like, well, hopefully he'll play like in Sacramento where it'll be like half the price at some point.
Iggy Pop with Top Ramen for a month, or no Iggy Pop ever again, So.
Yeah, exactly. You got to make those. Now, really quickly, what do you think if you had to say today you're making your man cave and you need 5 arcades? They can be either, games or video games or pinballs. What are the 5 you're going to choose to fill it out? Just off the top of your head. I mean, it doesn't have to be like an exact science list. Like you're going to fucking save up, $25,000 right now and go like, this is what my life savings going towards.
Some of it is out of, this is legitimately one of my favorite games. Some of it is out of just like, oh, that's an odd one. That's kind of cool. I didn't even know this was here, Street Fighter, Third Strike, like a very nice, cool, like widescreen version one. Yeah. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like another big display of that. The Mario Kart you can drive, where you can sit in and drive.
Oh, that'd be cool because you can't even get that game on consoles.
The Rolling Stone arcade cabinet you sent me.
The pinball one.
Yeah, and the fifth one. Fifth one's gonna be a weird one. I'm trying to think of something that I know I can get Third Strike, and I know I can get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on console, but there's something different about playing an arcade. Yeah,
there's something cool about that with a fighting game.
I kind of want to say, out of nostalgia, the Simpsons Brawler, but if not the Simpsons Brawler, the Jurassic Park game where you're shooting at the T-Rex that's chasing you down.
The Simpsons one, that was another game that had a ginormous fucking line when that game came out, like in 92 or 3 or whatever it was, or probably came a year later to like my area, but I remember that being huge.
That was literally a game where, I love that game, but that was literally a game where it's just kind of like you sent the character designs to Konami, and they literally found a way just to make a big brawler. Not that much action ever happens.
Well, the weird thing too is that game was one of those ones, like I think it was made before the 3rd season even came out. Like it's all based off season 1 and 2. Sort of how like those South Park games that came out, like on the N64. That South Park game's only based off season 1. It's kind of amazing to think when you go, holy fuck.
I think that was a time back when I really don't know the business of it so well, but I think that's like back in a time like, look, this thing's going to run out quickly. We got to sell shit on it now. We got to make a movie now. And now they have longevity. They're like, oh, wait, we could kind of take our time.
I think that's the same thing too, because South Park, the movie, came out after the 2nd season. Isn't that weird to think? Okay, well, here's my arcade list. For sure, Jurassic Park: The Lost World. That's the number 1 game I want. Is
that the one where you sit in the booth?
Yeah, that's the one where you go in the car booth. Because then there's the first Jurassic Park game, which is fun, but not nearly as cool, where it's on like the rocking car chair thing.
And that's where you're shooting the T-Rexes coming after you? Or is it just part of it?
Well, you shoot at T-Rexes in both of them, but the one you're thinking of, I think, is The Lost World, where you have like regular pistols.
I'm thinking of one where I want to say the whole game is where you're sitting in a car. It's like the part where you're being in the first one where they're being chased by the T-Rex and you have a gun, you have to fire at it. Maybe that's in multiple games though.
That might actually be the first one. Is it like you have a turret gun?
I think so.
Yeah, that's the first one because the second one you have just a regular light gun. And now the Lost World, that's the one that I would want. That's like the main one I'd want.
There's probably more longevity in that one. I'd probably switch my other one out for that. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I would probably want. This sounds like you just want to push the Jurassic Park shit, but the Jurassic Park pinball machine, I'd want that one. Another game I'd probably want is actually, I would like to have probably the Dead or Alive 2 arcade cabinet. I would probably go with like a Time Crisis, and if I had to choose a Time Crisis, I'd probably choose number 2. Seems like everything's 2. He just likes 2.
Yeah.
And then
what's
for my
even?
fifth choice, God, what would be a real sweet fucking arcade? Mostly, it's kind of like I feel like when I choose an arcade ones, if you just have endless money, it's kind of like we'll get the ones that would be like I think
a claw game, grabbing a stuffed animal.
Yeah, get a claw game and you fill up with your own shit. Like, okay, you got to get your own keys out of there now.
I can't leave the house until I get my own wallet out of the claw game.
My wallet, my keys, and my cell phone all in the claw game. No, God, what would I? You know what? I'd probably go. Now this is just more like a nostalgia one, but something that I really like. I'd probably take the Sunset Riders.
Oh fuck, that's a good one. Because
that's one of my favorite fucking games. Now I know it's like, yeah, I can play that in emulators on my Wii and everything like that. But there is something kind of cool about having the design and everything like that. Plus, that'd probably be a cheaper one compared to like Time Crisis 2 arcade cabinet and things that are like these ginormous apparatuses.
I think about Time Crisis is I couldn't tell you a thing. There are stories in Time Crisis because there's always a cutscene that's these two established guys.
Don't care. Click, click, click.
Yeah,
something.
And it's like people worked on it trying to make like a very like we want to make a cool game and have its own story. Don't care. Click.
And then yeah, even though this is like another one that would be kind of cool to have is the House of the Dead, the original one, because you can't technically get that game on anything. For some reason, I don't know. Somebody told me once they're like, "Oh, well, Sega fucked up and like their code for the game like they lost." I'm like, "Well, can't they just fucking retrieve it out of a arcade cabinet?" Like, no, they put a blocker on there to make sure nobody can retrieve it, not even themselves. And I don't know if that's totally true, but I've heard that before. So it's like, oh, okay. And that's why they say that why you never see House of the Dead 1 ever on any of those like House of the Dead packs. Like it's never come out. Like there's one on Sega Saturn, but it's kind of a shoddy version, and plus it costs like $100 used, and it's not even a very good version. But they've never had House of the Dead 1 released on a system. Like I was always like, why is that not on like when they did the House of the Dead collection on the Wii? Why don't they just put House of the Dead 1 on there too? But it's like, for some reason, Sega can't. Like, we can't. We can't. We can't break the code.
I'm surprised I never see Street Fighter 1 everywhere. It's kind of like Street Fighter 2, the only one that ever came out beforehand, you know?
The only collection you can get Street Fighter 2 on is they did the Capcom Classics collection for PSP, and that's the only one it's on.
Street Fighter 1?
I think it's on, yeah, because they did Classics Collection 1, and then there's Classics Collection 2, and I have Classics Collection 1 on PS2, but I think on Classics Collection Volume 2, they actually have the original Street Fighter. That's like the only time I think you can physically play. I played it in the arcade, though. It's fucking weird looking in the arcade. It's got like a joystick and like one fat button.
Yeah, well, I remember it played weird. I played a little bit. It was like you played as only Ryu and Ken, and I want to say the guys you fought were actually playable characters in Alpha 3 there in the line. It was Eagle, Sagat, Aiden, and I maybe was it the samurai guy with the two sides? I forgot his name. But
no, I don't think he was in that one because he comes from Fatal or Final
He's a
Fight.
boss in that game. He's a boss in Fatal Fight.
Right. Final Fight, yeah, he's in that one. Because that's kind of what Alpha was. Alpha was sort of like, well, here's the lost characters from Street Fighter Original, some characters from Final Fight, and a couple new characters. So it's kind of an interesting like crossover game.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of my favorite. Street Fighter Alpha 3, I think, is my favorite Street Fighter game.
Yeah, that probably is the all-time best one. Well, I hate to kind of wrap things up quickly, but I got to go walk the dogs and then go pick up Laura before it gets to that point. So, well, I guess we'll just call it good right here. But that was a fun little trip down arcade nostalgia and all that good stuff. And
I wonder how many people are like, God, these guys are getting fucking older and older and just talk about, remember this, remember that. I really understand.
Remember when arcades, when you weren't the only one in there?
Remember when you had to write down on a piece of paper like what you wanted and walk around a movie store for it? Yeah, like it's. I really see what
when like a child wouldn't point at you and say, "Look, mommy, an old person. There's a senior citizen in the arcade.
He's probably gonna die any second because he's so fucking old."
You're like, thanks.
That was harsh. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, jeez.
Hurry, Mom, get your camera. He's probably gonna die right fucking now.
Yeah, like he's an old man.
Oh, wide-eyed shit.
You're like, yeah, thank you. Okay. It's like, look at him walk around the relics of the past.
This must be how Sean Connery felt at the end of fucking Indiana Jones 3. My life's work, it's finally here. My boy brought it.
Look at the Jurassic Park arcade cabinet. It's as beautiful as I remember. Like everything I pictured it would be.
I have a feeling, say you have a kid some down the line, and you're going after the fabled Jurassic Park arcade machine, the pinball machine.
Say the Sonic the Fighters one, because that sounds even funnier for the fact that arcade actually is rare.
Sonic the Fighters one. Okay, Sonic the Fighters, and your kid's all like, there it is, Dad, there it is. And like, he has that moment like, let it go, son, let it go. You just push the kid out of the way off the cliff and grab it, like, I'm going with it.
The people are like, you're like the Nazi guy instead. It's like, it's mine! It's mine! It's not worth it! I can reach it!
Or it's one of those things you just like, as everything's crumbling apart, you put it in, you select like Bark the polar bear, and you just age rapidly, like she chose poorly. No one ever plays as Bark.
It was the controller! Oh, he's using the old-fashioned blame the controller bit again.
Sonic, that's always the right choice. There you go.
Do people still blame the controller nowadays? I just feel like I haven't heard that in a long time. That felt like that used to be like an old gamer problem.
I think the last time you really could blame the controller was the Wiimote.
Yeah, that probably is an easy one, but... Well, let's wrap it up here. If not, I'll have to scramble. All
right.
Okay.
Get scrambling.
Well, make sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, and more. Until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. Won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to Old Man Orange.